Well, thank you guys for coming this evening. So I'm just going to go ahead and read the bio and introduce our speaker. So I'm Latoya, and this is Lily. So Reggie James Pace has dedicated the past 20 years of his career working with small business owners, entrepreneurs, and dentists. During that time, he has helped over 3,500 visionaries make their dreams of business ownership a reality. Reggie specializes in developing leaders while helping them grow their business and fulfill their mission. He is a national keynote speaker and has coached both students and corporate leaders. He is a father of 7 and a husband to 1. Please welcome Reggie James Pace.
This is my Super Bowl day. I'm on top of the world today. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you, everybody, for being here. This presentation is called the Mississippi Millionaire. My father's name is Will Pace. He is the first African American Wendy's franchise owner under what became known as the Minority Franchise Program with Dave Thomas, if any of you know Dave, the founder of Wendy's. So I wanted to tell this story, and it really came about because in my father's eyes, it wasn't a big deal. You know, he just thought it was a part of life. And I know there's a theme around this campus called living uncommon, an uncommon life with uncommon results. And what I was trying to explain to him was that, like, what you did was uncommon. It was an uncommon thing. And I was talking to him, this was probably 10 years ago. And you know, I'm a corporate executive, so, you know, we had some level of success. I'm a college graduate, and I had all the opportunities afforded to me that many of us have right now, many of you have right now being here. And I was joking with him after we had lunch, and I was saying, you know, by the time you were my age, you know, you had amassed this, you know, net worth that was over $1 million. You know, you're a millionaire, and me with my college education and all this head start in life, and I'm just a thousandaire. And so I'm like, Dad, what's going on here? What's the difference? You started from nothing, you know, just a poor boy from Laurel, Mississippi, and here I am, you know, with this head start. And what's the difference in outcomes in monetary success and marketplace impact? What's the difference? And I was honestly just joking. Like, I didn't really expect him to answer. I was just kind of messing around. But when he answered, it really shook me to the core and really changed the trajectory of my professional career, my life. He answered and said, well, Reg, you guys just don't have enough grit. And later that night, like, it just bothered me because I didn't understand what he meant by that. I never expected him to answer, and I certainly didn't expect him to use that word. He had never used that word with me before. You just don't have enough grit. And so the next day, I couldn't let it rest. I called him, like, hey, Pop, you got to talk to me now. I know you're going back to Florida. I know, you know, I'm in Ohio. He lives in Florida now. And I'm like, hey, before you get on the plane, explain to me what you meant by that. And we got into a conversation about what he meant by that. And over the next 2 hours, I literally had to pull over on the side of the road and interview him for 2 hours. I recorded it, pulled out my iPod, videoing it, and I'm taking notes, just really getting the blueprint for what the difference was from having a goal and then achieving what we consider to be greatness, which is your full potential. What was the difference? Why did I feel so stuck? And why was the outcome so different? And that's where this this message came from that conversation. And GRIT became an acronym, G-R-I-T. That stood for something that really I want to break down for you in this presentation today. Because if I come today and really just tell you just about my dad's story and you leave understanding who Will Pace was and what his impact was on Wendy's, then I really failed, you know? Like, I'm not here just to tell you a story about my dad so you have just some more history about a figure who was African American. Like, he told me when I come and do these speeches, don't do that. He said, you have to impart something into their lives that introduces them to their full potential. That was the charge he gave me. He said, you can tell these stories, 4 stories about my life at every stage, at adolescence, at teenager, at young adult, and adulthood. You could tell these 4 stories of pivotal moments in my life, but it has to introduce them to their full potential and pull greatness out of them. I said, no problem, you got it. That's exactly what we'll do. So what we started doing was I started traveling the country with no real PowerPoint. It's not that type of deal where you get a lot of PowerPoints and slides and graphs. Really nothing but my wife, my daughter, and this little item here that represents probably as close as I could get to representing, showing you what your full potential is. Does anybody know what this is by chance? Let's see. Seed? What you think? Seed? Seed, you think? What kind of seed? Apple seed? Probably apple seed, right? So he's just like, yeah, let's go with that. Let's go with apple seed.
I want to know the answer to this.
Apple seed, you think? All right. Now, what's amazing is you are the first group that got it right on the first guess.
Good job. You must be eating a lot of
Right? First group ever. Some people say it's a popcorn kernel.
No.
Right? I'm like, popcorn kernel. Like, come on, it's not even the right color, right? One lady, I kid you not, we were in Mississippi at Delta State University. She took her glasses off. She was a retiree. She was coming back for the presentation. She had retired 2 years ago. She came back for the presentation. She took her glasses off, and I'm walking through the aisleways with this, and she yells out, hold on, what she said? It's a USB drive?
No.
I'm like, ma'am, if you don't put your glasses back on, if you think this is a USB drive, you don't need to be driving home. You need an Uber. You need an Uber right now. But it's an apple seed. Anybody ever planted apple trees before?
I have.
You have? Okay, good. So you can maybe help me talk through this. So with an apple seed, and you put it in the ground, that first year after you put it in the ground, what do you see?
Nothing. Stick.
You don't see anything,
Nothing there.
right? Now, I promise you, inside of this little apple seed, I promise you, it's a forest in here. It's a forest. It's a full orchard inside this apple seed. I promise you that. But the first year, when you put it in the ground, after a full year of doing what? What do you have to do that year?
You gotta water it, you gotta fertilize it, keep watering it,
Water it,
talk to it.
fertilize it, talk to it. Hey, you baby, you, give me some apples. All of that stuff, right? In the first year, you see nothing. Nothing. Now, when somebody asks me, I've had a 20-year career in corporate banking. I work with over 3,500 entrepreneurs. Yes, I've done all of that. I've had people come in with nothing but $1 in their dream and seen them grow to multimillionaires. I've seen all of that stuff. And somebody asked me, what's the number one reason that business people fail? And without hesitation, I said, they quit too early. It's not funding. It's not ability. It's not they had the wrong business plan. None of that stuff. The number one reason that I've seen them fail is they quit too early. They start, and a year later, they go, I don't really got nothing going here. I'm going to do something else. I'm going to go invest in I'm going to do Bitcoin. Bitcoin's working now. I'm going to do Bitcoin. I'm going to be an internet marketer now, man. I'm going to put this up and just be an internet marketer now. Hey, man, I'm going to just go to real estate, man. I've been doing this a full year. Got nothing. Now, why am I telling you this? Because you got to understand, no matter what it is you're trying to do, there is a process to success. Success has a process. You football players, right? Now, imagine somebody coming in like, yeah, I want to be a football player. I want to play in the NFL. You're like, all right, cool. And they're like, I'm about to go to the combine tomorrow. You're like, have you worked out? Like, what's your regimen? I don't need no regimen. I'm just going to go tomorrow and try out. You're like, no, you can't. There's a process. Process precedes success every time, right? So year number one, you see nothing. Now here I am, I sold you on this seed, telling you it's a full orchard in here, and you've been working on it for a year and see nothing, right? That's how it works. That's how it works. Welcome. Now, year 2, you've been watering it, talking to it, whispering to it, watering it, talking to it, protecting it. Year 2, what you see? And for those of us that don't know, what is a bud?
Like a pinky, like barely.
A pinky.
Nothing.
Now, you started this believing, hey, I'm about to plant an apple tree. It's going to have apples. And you know what I heard? Apples, man, it produces about 300 apples a season. I'm about to have apples galore. Everybody going to have apples. You telling the family about it. Mama, you're going to have apples, and you're going to have, and your spouse and significant other, we're going to have so many apples. We're going to be able to be a blessing in the community. It's going to be fantastic. Year 1, you got nothing. Year 2, you have what Miss Shanitra called a bud. A bud. Now, we're talking 24 months of work. Every week, day in, day out. And you mean to tell me you got a bud? A bud. What she said was the equivalent of your pinky finger sticking out the ground. What did I tell you the number one reason was? They quit. They quit too early, man. But you understand why, though.
Yeah.
I don't know about you. I don't know if I had the patience for that. I don't know if I have the patience to work 2 years on something. And now my friends come over, hey, man, let me see that thing you've been working on. You've been missing all the stuff and missing all the parties, and let me see what you've been working on. And you like, ta-da, here it is. And you reveal a bud. Can you imagine? What would your friends say to you? Right? You could feel it, right? Can you feel it? The laughter, the embarrassment. You can feel it. Like, what you doing, man? They're going to tell you to quit. Oh, this is stupid, man. You got to give up. This is just dumb. This is stupid. Like, you've been doing this for 24 months, and this is the result you had? Okay, year 3. About year 3, what do you get?
Start to get a small little tree.
A small little tree. This is what I call it's a little something. You probably can't even really tell what it is.
No, still no apples.
3 years, and all you have is just a little something. Just a little something. Right? How long you been here? 2 years. You just got a little something, though. It's just a bud out here, man. What you doing at school, man? What you got? Just got a little bud, man. Just a little bud. Just a little something. Don't look, can't even hardly really tell what it is, right? And so this is why it's so important that you don't base your worth off of what people say, right? Because people have no idea. Like I said, you guys were the first group to ever even guess what this was. Right. I usually have to tell people it's an apple seed. Then everybody goes, oh, yeah, that is an apple seed. That's right. That's an apple seed. Most people can't even recognize what it is. And when you do recognize what it is, even after 3 years, you just got a little something. Just a little something. Ain't nothing to talk about. Now, when your friends come over and they see a little something, can they eat from it?
No.
It's nothing to even feed them on there yet, right? So it has no value. Right? What's valuable about it is the fruit that's inside of here, just the apples. Apples have value. It's a multi-billion-dollar industry. Apples are valuable. They solve a problem. They provide a healthy snack with low calories that don't cost that much. It solves a problem, right? But after 3 years, it has no value yet. So when people come across it, it's no value. Right? Have you ever bought an apple tree at that stage? Have you ever said, hey, anybody got any 3-year-old apple trees? I've been looking to buy some apples. I want to buy a 3-year-old apple tree. Have you ever done that? Have you ever gone to the store to even buy apple seeds? Nope. You ever bought? No. Apple? Okay. So you don't even really value the apple seed, right? Like it has no value for you, right? What do you want? You want the apple. You want the fruit, right? You want the fruit. So why am I telling you this? Why would I drive all the way up here to come and give us a diversity presentation and start like this and tell you that the reason most people never achieve their goals is because they quit too soon? Like, I wish people would have told me this. I wish somebody would have told me this when I was in college, because I kept feeling like when I didn't see the results, that it meant it was the wrong thing. Now, we got a world full of apples, and every apple you see has gone through this process. Is there a way to circumvent and speed this process up? Like, there's no way to do it. No matter how kind of science you put on it, there's no way to, like, make it happen in 1 year. Like, this is just how it works. You put it in the ground, you cultivate, and you take it through a process. It's the only way to get the value that's hidden in this thing out. This is a full representation of your potential. In the seed form, it's just potential. It has the potential to be an orchard. It can produce up to 300 apples a season. And each apple, on average, has about 5 seeds in it. And so each of those 5 seeds has the potential to produce another 300 apples per season. So you don't have to be a mathematician to understand exponentially hidden inside this is a full orchard, potentially, if it goes through the process. And you don't give up on it too soon. You understand? So now you won't be upset with yourself when you've been working and working and working on whatever it is you choose to go into career-wise. Whatever it is, doesn't matter, it takes a process, right? And you've been working and working and working, and you don't see anything but a little bud and a little something that really isn't even recognizable to most people, right? And so when if you don't get the support you want, is that okay? Yeah, don't matter. You think that little something kind of apple tree on 3-year care about what you think about it? It don't care. If it gets water, it's going to produce apples. It don't care what you think about it. Water, sunlight, protection, it's going to produce. Does it matter what shade the seed is? Did you ever go to the store and say, I want some apples, but wait a minute, I want to make sure that the seeds were light? Only light seeds matter to me. Did you matter? No, I want the fruit. I want the fruit. I want the result. I want the problem solved. Each of you were created to solve a problem in your generation. I don't know if you realize that or not. But the gifts inside of you solve a problem, right? The gifts inside of you solve a problem. I was just talking to Coach Roscoe. The gifts inside of him solve a problem. He's got books inside of him that are going to solve a problem. There are going to be people that are born with spinal bifida that think, my life's over. I'm depressed. There's nothing I can do. I can't do stuff like other kids. I can't. And they're going to pick up his book and go, you know what? I think I can. I didn't know you could live to be 45 years old with spinal bifida. I was always told if you live, you might live to only be 20. Who knew? If you go through the process, right? If you go through the process, if I say, show me your book right now, you're going to show me a little something. A little something. But if you take it through the process, it's going to produce fruit, right? All right. So that's why I wanted to start with this. This is essential. If you hear nothing else but that, this will be enough to impact you and change the trajectory of what you're thinking Because without this, if you run across adversity, you're going to think resistance is a sign to stop. Right? If you don't know any better, resistance is a sign that I just need to do something else. This is crazy. I'm working for 3 years and I ain't got nothing but a little something. I give up. Right? So that's why I wanted to start with that. That's why I traveled the country with nothing but an apple seed in my pocket, and my wonderful wife, and my business manager, baby, baby Lily, who you'll see walking back and forth here, right? So with Dad's story, I'm going to give you really 4 stages of his life: adolescence, teenager, young adult, and adulthood. Just 4 stories. That's what we have time for. But I think you will see yourself in these stories. That's why I want to tell these stories and somebody's summation of his life and what he went through. So when Pops was about, and I'll say Pops, but his name is Will. When Pops was about 6 years old, he's in a town called Laurel, Mississippi. That's where he was born. Laurel, Mississippi, you may have never heard of it. Honestly, if you're on the freeway and you're driving in Mississippi, if you blink, you'll miss it. Like, it's a tiny town. Nothing was there when I was growing up and we would visit, but, it seemed like it was 4 corners, a corner store. And I said 2 churches. Roscoe said, man, it was probably just 1 church. You know what I mean? Honestly, 1 church at a corner store. That's what it seemed like. It's just a small town. Really nothing was there. Dad is in the middle of the road, dirt road. And as a kid, you're not supposed to be in the road playing. But you know how kids are. Anybody got a little brother, little sister, little siblings? You know how it is. Kids don't listen. So he's in the middle of the street, and he's kicking up this red dirt, red clay they have on the ground in Mississippi. The dirt looks red. He's kicking it up, and a car is coming down the street. And what I would have done as a kid is get out the way, right? Because I believe in safety. I'm a low risk kind of a guy. But Dad, being the kid he is, like most kids, he's just kicking up clay. Car's coming down the street, he doesn't get out the way. So the car is coming, and it pulls over just a little bit, driving real slow. And, being the unruly kid that my dad was, instead of him just moving out of the way and letting the car go by, as the car goes by, he kicks up mud on the car. Guy stops the car, gets out. It's a taller man. He looks at my dad. He's a fair-skinned man. And he says, boy, and you can imagine, this is Laurel, Mississippi. Little black kid kicks up dirt on this nice car, right? What do you think he said? You imagine? Only imagine, right? Again, this is one of those moments that are just pivotal and impacts your life. He didn't say what we all thought he would say. What he said was, boy, you want a job? I don't really understand why he said it, but it was a very impactful moment. Because my dad, as a 6-year-old kid, had never had a job before. Most 6-year-olds don't work. You're not even allowed to nowadays. Back then, maybe they worked in the field or something like that. So, yeah, maybe they're used to some type of work, right? But he said, boy, you want a job? And my dad said, well, I got to ask my mom. So he runs into the house, and he asks his mom. He said, Mom, man outside say he want to give me a job. What should I say? Can I say yes? And she said, a job? He said, yeah, a job. A job? Yeah, a job. She said, where? He said, I'll be right back. So he runs back down the street. Excuse me, sir. Where you want me to work at? He said, down in my restaurant. I want you to shine shoes. He said, okay. Run back in. Down in his restaurant. He want me to shine shoes, Mom. Can I say yes? And she said, shine shoes? He said, yeah, shine shoes. She said, how much does it pay? He said, I'll be right back. Right? So he does this a few more times, just understanding, getting the nitty gritty of what's going on. And finally she says, yeah, you can go ahead and work. Can you imagine that? Letting your 6-year-old go work, some stranger you never met before. But we talking years ago. This was before, times wasn't like it is now. You could let your kids go out and play all day and it didn't matter. They coming back at the end of the day. It's not like that nowadays, right? You can play in the front yard without being worried about it. But she said, yeah. Why? Because there were 13 people in that household. 13, right? 13 people in that household. And anybody that can go and make money benefits the family, right? So yeah, you can go. She lets him go. He works for 2 or 3 days. He comes back, and he has an older brother named Jim, my Uncle Jim. And Uncle Jim saw him coming in and said, where you coming from, man? Where you been? He's like, I've been at work. He's like, work? And Uncle Jim stuttered. Where? He's like, down at the restaurant. I'm shining shoes. He's like, what restaurant? He's like, right down the street on the corner. And Uncle Jim couldn't hardly get it out. It was bothering him so bad. He said, Will, he couldn't even get it. My dad, what, man? Spit it out. He said, you work for the, come on, man, spit it out. You work for the KKK. He said, what? The KKK? What you talking about? You're 6 years old, don't know what the KKK. You work for the KKK. They're going to kill you. He said, man, what you talking about? What my dad didn't know was that the man that gave him that job, that he kicked the clay up on, was actually the grand wizard for the KKK in Laurel, Mississippi. Now, can you imagine this little black boy from Laurel, Mississippi, 6 years old, and he's going into really the play place for the KKK every single day, and he's shining shoes. And he's shining shoes there, right? Now, after he found this out, what it meant, they had to teach him, like, hey, like, this is probably not good. You should probably quit. Now, I thought when my dad's telling me the story, like, oh, man, that's crazy. Like, yeah, you had to quit and all this stuff. He's like, well, no, I didn't quit. Like, what do you mean you didn't quit? He's like, I went and I shined those shoes. I said, why? He's 6. He didn't understand why you probably shouldn't do that. But what he did was his daddy was a military man and taught him how to shine shoes. He shined the shoes and did the work and produced what nobody else could produce. Those folks could. If you friends, I'm not shining your shoes, right? You gonna shine Richard, right? You gonna shine Richard's shoes? You're not shining Richard's shoes. No way, right? You're not shining Richard's shoes. And what's your name? Corbin. Richard, you shining Corbin's shoes? Can you imagine if Corbin's like, hey, man, go ahead and hit them tips for me real quick before we go out to this presentation. Can you imagine? You're not doing that, man. Right? So to them, it was cool to have just a little poor boy come in and shine shoes because nobody else is going to do that. Like your peers aren't going to do that, right? So they had him come in and shine shoes, and they didn't, mistreat him. He's 6 years old. And he went and shined those shoes, and what he said was, what he learned was a business principle. This is something that's very valuable, especially when we're talking about diversity. See, back then it wasn't diverse. There was no diversity. If you talk about diversity and inclusion, like, come on, you'd be laughed at. Everything was segregated, right? Everything was segregated. So when you talk about a diversity principle, what you have to understand, and this is very powerful for diversity and inclusion, is it's not about just having people from different places and different faces and different backgrounds. Like, I understand that's a good starting point, but the core is understanding that when you can solve a problem, you understand what I'm saying to you? When you can solve a problem, right? This is where your value supersedes all bias. You don't believe me? Has anybody ever been to the dentist? You been to the dentist? Did you care what your dentist looked like? Heck no. Fix this pain in my mouth. Fix my teeth, right? You didn't say, no. I'll wait for the African American dentist, thank you. Man, no. You don't care what they look like. Have you ever broken a bone? Anybody ever broken something? The paramedics or whoever came and got you and reset you and fixed you up, did you care what they look like? Heck no. Hey, I got a problem. I want it solved. If you're able to solve it, thank you, right? But what has to happen is you can't show up. The worst thing that can happen with diversity and inclusion is for somebody to give you a shot and you're not ready for it. That's the worst thing that can happen. Somebody give you a shot and really you're in the wrong lane. You're really not even qualified for it. It's really not what you're created to do. It's the worst thing that can happen. Because you're going to fail at it, right? You're not going to be good at it, and it's going to perpetuate the bias. See, I told you we shouldn't hire those type of people, right? But you got to understand, you got to be ready, and it has to be a good fit, right? It's not just about having different faces from different places and different backgrounds. That's a good starting point, I get it. But your job is to be ready. You can't be in bud. You can't show up and be a bud, right? If people say, hey, we're coming to get some apples. All right, hey, man, we're going to come to get apples from you. And they show up and you just got a little something. You got a bud. I can't pick you because you're not ready. You don't give me value. There's no exchange of value, right? So in my dad's example, they don't like people that look like him. But he solved the problem so well that they pay him $0.25 to shine the shoe, and they drinking at the restaurant, so they tip him $1, right? So he's making the equivalent of $15 an hour back in those times as a 6-year-old to our time. He's making the equivalent of $15 an hour shining shoes. They're paying him $0.25, tipping him $1. Shining shoes, man. Why? Because when the opportunity presented itself, you understand what I'm saying to you? So your job is to get ready, right? So the G in grit is guts. It's having guts, which is courage, right? Courage for what? Courage looks like for you is being able to ask the uncomfortable ask. It's an uncomfortable thing, but asking for what you want. What do you want? Somebody has it right now. Somebody has access to it right now. And asking for what you want. You'd be surprised. Oprah Winfrey has a quote. You get in life what you have the courage to ask for. Right? The Bible says, you have not because you ask not. The Bible also says, ask and you shall receive. Like, this isn't like some stuff that, is just for one religion and one. No, this is life. If you want something, ask for it. I was in a bank one time, and there was this guy. His name was Muhammad. He was Somalian, and he's in a place where there's not a high Somali population. His branch was in, the best way I could describe it to you was, it was, if I could speak freely, it was kind of in the hood, man. Like, can I say that to you? It was in the hood, right? So he's in a place where when you think about a credit product, that branch probably wouldn't produce the most credit products versus other branches. Like, it just probably wouldn't because of the location that it's in. Credit products in that location wouldn't be prevalent as opposed to other locations. It just wouldn't be. Now, I know this because I knew market research. I've been in that market for 15 years. But when I looked at his credit products, he had produced 300 times more than the branch in the suburbs. Obviously, that stood out to me. I'm like, hey, man, you produced 300% more credit cards than a suburban branch did. How? I'm thinking, I'm about to get the secrets to success. This guy is like a phenomenon. He's got to be the best salesman I've ever seen in my life. 300%. How? You know what Abdul told me? He said, well, Reg, I asked, do you want a credit card? And they say yes. That was his secret. He had the guts to just ask. He just asked everybody to walk to the door. That was his secret. We trying to figure out all this stuff and, hey, when they open a checking account, do this and do that and have this printed brochure and all this other stuff. He said, I ask. You fail a test? You ever have the guts to go to the teacher and say, hey, can I take it over? Ask. Can I take it over? Just ask. Ask until you receive what you want. My wife asked this year, she said, hey, let's not do Christmas this year. What you mean? We got kids. They gonna want to do Christmas. Like, they're used to Christmas. Like, this is kind of a big deal to kids, right? Let's not do that this year. She had the guts to say, hey, let's not do that. Let's have Christmas on the beach this year. Let's go to the beach. You know where we had Christmas? On the beach. In Christmas hats. Making sandcastles. On December 25th. Because she asked. I wonder what you could have if you had the guts to ask. You would be surprised, man, if you had the guts to just ask. What people would say yes to. It's a book called Rejection Proof. You should get it. And actually, they talk about it on YouTube. You can just pull up this stuff on YouTube. It's called Rejection Proof. The guy was so afraid to ask, he challenged himself to just ask for random, ridiculous stuff every day for 100 days. Like, he just challenged himself. I'm just going to ask random people random stuff. Just going to do it. The stuff that people said yes to would blow your mind. He knocked on one door and said, excuse me, sir. Never met the guy before. He said, can I go in your backyard and take pictures for my soccer team? Dude was like, what? He's like, yeah, I just, your backyard looks really nice. I would love to just go in your backyard and take the pictures instead of mine. He said, all right, come on in. Like, you would be surprised. Guts. It'll change your life. I just ask, man. Just ask. Right? Shanitra, did you ask me to come here? No. I had to have guts to ask you. Right? You ever met me before?
No.
Today was the first day I met her. I've never even been, like, in this city before. You know what I'm saying? Right? Never. You got to have the guts to just say, hey, my dad was, first Wendy's. You mind if I come and talk to you? Just ask. And she might, yeah. Come on in and take pictures in the backyard. So I can see. Have guts to ask, right? So, adolescence, Dad had crazy guts, man, to go in there and work for people that, for all intents and purposes, didn't like him, right? But they respected him because he solved a problem very well. You understand what I'm saying to you? So when it comes to diversity and inclusion, make sure you're ready. Make sure you're ready for the opportunity when it presents itself, right? So when Dad was a teenager, he has a great work ethic. He's understanding, how to work. He understands how to provide for the family even as a teenager because he's been working since he was 6 years old. Well, his dad was driving a pickup truck, and him and several of his brothers were in the back. They were just hauling things, working, trying to provide for the family. Not a lot of money, obviously, in a small town like that, and you got 13 mouths to feed. Like, I don't know about you, but like, you eat more than one meal a day, right? I'm not trying to assume. But if you play ball, you eat more than one meal a day, right? Now, multiply how many meals you eat by 13, man. Like, that's a lot of feeding, right? So you got to do what it takes to feed the family. And they're in the back of a pickup truck, not following the legal rules, right? Because there's no seatbelts and stuff back there. And they're on the freeway. My dad is back there, and everybody's, just hanging out and having a good time waiting to get to their next spot. And they hit a bump, man. And my dad falls off the back of the pickup truck, right? And so as he's falling, my Uncle Jim, reaches out to try to catch him. But they're teenagers, man. On the freeway, he's not strong enough to catch him and pull him back in. So he reaches out to grab Dad, and the force of it all is pulling him too, right? So he, out of instinct, has to let go before they both fall out. So Dad falls over the back, and his shirt gets caught in the bumper, right? And he's being dragged on the freeway. So now they're banging on the window. Hey, Dad. Stop. And he, what? By the time he stops, though, it's at least 30 feet, right? By the time he falls off and they can get his attention enough to stop, right? This is a life-changing event because now my father has been drugged for 30 feet on the freeway as a teenager. He's obviously in critical condition, but he's still alive. They get him to the hospital and call my grandmother and let her know, look, you got to get down here because your son isn't going to make it. If he makes it, he's going to be a vegetable at best. His skull has been fractured. His skull is exposed. It's bad. He's not responsive. He's in a coma. Get down there, he's not going to make it. All right, so my grandmother shows up, and she just can't accept that, right? I understand. I wouldn't be able to accept it either. I had a similar call. I got a call, hey, your son has been in a car accident. You got to get down to the hospital. It's not looking good. And showed up, and he was unrecognizable. His face was fractured in 3 places. I couldn't even recognize his face. But I couldn't accept he's not going to make it, though. Right? All I knew was, well, I guess I better pray then. Because this isn't what I saw. I saw him growing up and being a football player in XYZ, and this doesn't fit the story. So all Grandma knew, well, I got to just sit here, and it's just time to pray, right? Now, he's supposed to be a vegetable. He's done. They're done. They're not working on him. He's hooked up to life support. They've cleaned up the wounds. And they're like, look, whenever y'all ready to pull the plug, let us know, and that's what we'll do, right? 2 days go by. She's like, I'm not pulling this plug, man. I can't do it, right? And after 2 days, he's starting to respond and move his feet, right? And so they're working with him. Hey, doing the leg test. Hey, I think he's responding. And finally, he sits up. First words out of his mouth, I got to get to work. I got to get to work. It's a mentality, right? The R in grit stands for resilience, which means recovering quickly from difficulty. It's a mentality. Either you're going to cultivate that mentality or you're not. But the mentality of when life knocks me off my feet, I'm going to be the type of person that recovers quickly from difficulty. You have to just decide No matter what life throws at me, I'm going to recover quickly from difficulty. I'm going to get myself back up, dust myself off, and get back in the game. Because I don't know if you've experienced this in life yet, but life is going to knock you off your feet. It's designed to do that. It makes you tough. It makes you strong. It builds muscle, right? Resistance builds muscle, right? Only resistance can build muscle. Only resistance can. Can you imagine seeing somebody go in the weight room doing this with no weights? I'm about to get swole, dog. Hey, dog, what's up, man? I'm about to get swole. Watch this. What you think? You ain't getting swole, man. Why? There's no resistance. Now, in this setting, it's like, duh, common sense. But when you're in college and you're struggling and you can't seem to get it right, it's called resistance. And you up here like, yo, I'm about to get swole, I'm about to get my brain swole, my mind swole, I'm about to get a degree, I'm about to get educated. Well, that's what you're here for. You're not here to learn stuff, to do stuff you already know how to do. Right? You're here to learn, which means you don't know it yet. Which means mental resistance. It's going to be tough. You got to figure it out. My first paper, when I got to college, my very first paper I turned in, I thought the teacher spilled Kool-Aid on it. There was so much red corrective ink on my paper, I thought the teacher spilled Kool-Aid on my paper. When she handed it back to me, I thought she spilled a drink on my paper. It was destroyed. Apparently, like, what I thought writing was, man, at the university level was foolishness. It was buffoonery. She marked my paper up so bad, man. She literally handed the paper back to me and said, look, if this is the type of work you're going to do, you might as well just go home now. You're not going to make it. That's what she said to me. I was a freshman. My first paper, she said, if this is what you got, go home now. And the resistance made me stronger. The resistance did. I saw that and was like, you know what? I never want to have a conversation like that again. Like that was devastating. So I went back and I had to, hey, do you know how to write papers? Yeah, you know how to write. How do you put sentence structure together? Oh, well, you got to do this. I had to learn. Because of the resistance, I had to learn. It's resilience, man. When life hits you with something like that, you got two choices. You fold up and quit, which we said at the beginning. The number one reason students, entrepreneurs, visionaries don't make it is they give up too soon. Now, I could have quit and went home. I had friends that went home freshman year. They're like, man, the college not for me. They just quit. Right? They tell you at the beginning, look left, look right, what are y'all not going to be here, right? I don't know if they still do that. But in my case, they said, look to the left, look to the right. At orientation, freshman orientation, they said, one of y'all not going to be here. Because they're going to get resistance and quit. I'm telling you right now, you will never reach your full potential if that's the mentality you have. Whenever there's resistance, I'm going to quit. Got to have resilience. Got to have resilience. Honey, how much time, how are we looking on time, Shanitra? How are we doing?
25 minutes.
25?
Yeah.
All right, I want to leave room for some Q&A, so I'm going to, at any time at this point, if you want to ask questions, go ahead and start doing it, all right? So the I in GRIT stands for imagination. So we got guts, resilience, and imagination. This is pivotal because this is the why, right? This is the why you start something. It's because of your imagination. I want you to look around and find something in this room. Find something in this room. Just look and find something in this room. Let me grab your water real quick. Find something in this room to put your eyes on. You got something? Everybody got something? Do you know where that thing started? Anybody know? No matter what you're looking at, guess where it started? Roscoe, you know? Ah, very good. He said up here. Whatever it is you're looking at started in someone's imagination. This is an idea, just started in someone's imagination. Somebody said, you know what? We should take water that everybody got access to and put it in a plastic bottle. Charge $1 for it. Their friends probably said, man, you stupid. Ain't nobody gonna pay $1 for no water. When they get it free from the sink. I'll tell you right now, on Amazon, water is the #1 most consistent seller at Amazon Fresh, is bottled water. They sell it by a caseload every hour, delivered to somebody's house in 45 minutes. Started in somebody's imagination. But imagination is important because if you don't remember what made you start this journey in the first place, you're going to quit when you get in the middle of it, right? You started this journey, you had something, imagine it. Man, imagine I'm gonna get a degree. I'm gonna be able to get a job. And I'm gonna be able to pay for stuff I want, be independent, be on my own. Whatever was in your imagination, whatever that picture was that you created, that's why you started. Right? My son has, in his imagination, he want to play in the NFL. I want to play in the NFL. I said, that's what I want to do. I can't wait till combine. I can't wait till my acceptance speech. Dad, I'm going to buy you a house. In his imagination, it's up there. The reason that's important is because when you get in the middle of the journey, the most logical thing to do is going to be to quit. It's going to make sense to quit. Back to our seed example. 3 years in, you have a little tree that has what on it, Shanitra?
A bud. Not even.
Anything to eat?
No, nothing.
3 years in, working with an apple tree seed, and you don't have anything to eat yet. The logical thing to do would be to quit. Like, it would make sense. Nobody would be mad at you. I'm going to quit. A friend of mine, he went to college. 2 years in, I don't think he ever had anything above a C-. Like, the majority of his grades were Fs. Like, he just couldn't get it. Like, he just wasn't doing the work. And he didn't want to do the work. For him to come and say, this college thing is not for me, to us was like, yeah, man, you probably need to do something else. Like, this probably ain't for you. He shifted his mindset, though. He said, you know what? I said, why did you even start going to college? Like, what made you want to go to college in the first place? He said, man, because I'll be a first-generation college student, which means, like, nobody else in my family went to college. Everybody told me I couldn't go, and I wouldn't be successful. They told me I was stupid. So I wanted to go and prove them wrong. I was like, you still want to prove them wrong? He's like, man, heck yeah. I'm like, well, you might want to stay in it then. Let's see what we can do. We had to tap into his imagination. Why did you start? Because that's the reason to finish. Right? I have to remind myself every week, man. Still, to this day, why did I start this thing? Oh, yeah, that's right. Because the thing that makes sense would be to stay home. What is today, Tuesday? It's Tuesday. I have a 7-month-old baby. My teenagers are at home tearing up the house right now. I know it. It just makes sense to just stay home today. To just quit and be an internet marketer. I can just record this, put it online, sell it as a course or something. That just makes sense. Or the reason I started this was to impact your life and introduce you to your greatness, to your full potential. Because that's what somebody did for me. They introduced me to my potential. And I stopped thinking, oh, I'm not stupid. I'm not a dumb kid. Just because my paper was all marked up, I'm not dumb. I just didn't understand the rules of success, the process. Oh, okay, somebody introduced me to that and it changed my life. Okay, well, I'm going to do the same thing for you. I don't care. Well, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 people in here. If I get one, if I impact one person in this room the way that person impacted me, success all day long, buddy. Because that person that came to my school and introduced me to my potential changed my life. That conversation I had with my dad in that car that day changed my life. Understanding the principles of guts, resilience, and imagination changed my life. That's what my dad had to do. He had to imagine, look, man, I want to be a business owner one day. I don't want to just work, shine shoes, moving furniture. I want to own a business one day. So I'm going to move my family to Ohio because there's opportunities up there. If I can get to Ohio, man, I can be a business owner one day. Not just an employee, but an owner. It was in his imagination. So when it got tough, see, you got to understand, the imagination is an image of the magnificent end. In the end, it's going to be magnificent. It's going to be great. I'm going to have this much money. I'm going to take care of this kind of people. I'm going to drive this kind of car. I'm going to have this kind of impact. It's magnificent. The end is magnificent, but the middle is messy. And so you got to remember the magnificent end. So when you get in the messy middle, you don't go back to the miserable beginning. I'm going to say it slow again. You have to remember the magnificent end. So when you get in the messy middle, you don't go back to the miserable beginning, right? The beginning, so you have what we call euphoric recall, where you get in the middle and it's messy, and you look at the beginning like, man, it was so good back then. But it wasn't that good or you would have never started. You just have a euphoric recall where your brain is like, go back to safety. Go back to safety. And it's really a setup to get you to never achieve your greatness. Most people fall for the setup. It's a trick. It's a trick of life. If I can just get them to go back to the beginning, man, and give up. You know what? I'm gonna just stay at home, man. I'm gonna do something different, right? And the T in grit, we got guts, resilience, imagination, and T is tenacity. Tenacity. What tenacity is a relentless pursuit of progress and purpose. It's a relentless pursuit of it. If you read books on Kobe Bryant, like I did many years ago, Michael Phelps, Tiger Woods, Michael Jordan, I was trying to figure out what are the keys to like greatness. So let me read like people who have achieved like just outrageous results and just see if there's any commonality between them. So I was on a journey. I'm reading. You know the one word that popped out to me more than anything else when I read their biographies? Every day. You read Michael Jordan's story, man, he said, I went and practiced every day. You read Michael Phelps, he says, I practiced in the pool. I did 2 workouts that most swimmers do 1. I did 2 of them every day. On Christmas and Thanksgiving, I'm in the water. He said every day. He said, I eat over 5,000 calories a day to make up for how much calories I burn. He didn't even have an athletic diet. He would eat burgers, anything he could eat to just get the calories in because he's burning every day. Now, he's the best to ever do it, though. Why? Because he had a relentless pursuit of progress. And the word was every day. Everybody knows about Kobe Bryant. They're talking about Kobe Bryant right now, man. What made Kobe Bryant a phenomenon was his Mamba mentality, right? Which all that is he practiced every day. 1,000 shots every day. Where resilience is really defensive. You get knocked down, you got to have resilience to get back up. Life hits you for an uppercut, you got to have resilience to get back up. That's resilience, right? Tenacity is offensive. Resilience is defensive. Life is beating me up, I'm going to keep coming back. Tenacity is I'm going to hit life before it hit me. I'm going to get it. Tenacity is if I make a mistake and trip over here, by the time the haters got enough time to tweet, post, Instagram, talk about you in the story, all that, by the time they got a chance to do that, you already progressed 10 more steps. Oh, I'm 10 steps past that. Yeah, I messed up back there, but I'm 10 times better than that already. Why? Because it's been 10 days. I got better every day. I got better every day. So the stuff you laughing at me for from last week, I'm not even that same person no more. You see what I'm saying to you? Tenacity. Anybody know Bruce Lee? Anybody ever really looked into his craft and what made him different from everybody else? Bruce Lee was a phenomenon. Anybody that's a reputable martial artist right now will tell you Bruce Lee was the absolute real deal. Bruce wasn't just out here doing karate. Bruce was on a whole nother level. Bruce's style was like nobody else's style. You couldn't beat Bruce Lee. Some of his footage is super grainy, it's on YouTube now, but the stuff he's doing, even in the footage they were able to capture, he knocked a man across the room by doing this. He put his hand in his chest and did this, and the man slid across the room, man. This wasn't movie footage. This happened at a competition where they're let's see what this guy can really do. Bruce Lee's mentality was he didn't talk about defense. Bruce Lee was not a defensive person where you're going to try to hit him and he's going to do all this stuff. Bruce Lee said, I think offense all the time. He was tenacious about it. He said, by the time you even think about hitting me, I'm going to hit you twice. I'm not trying to block your punch. I'm intercepting anything you try to do to me with 2 punches. So if you watch footage of Bruce Lee, when somebody goes like this to kick him, he kicks them in their leg and pushes it down. You don't see nothing like this before. You won't see stuff like this today. When somebody goes to kick Bruce Lee, he kicks their leg. You know how fast you got to be to have somebody in mid-kick and you've kicked them and completed your kick by the time they're in mid-kick still. Do you understand how fast that is? He was tenacious about offensive. And he practiced every day. Every day. Every day. By the time life tries to hit you, I hit life twice. Right? Because life is going to swing at you every day. Adversity every day. You ever have any days where it was just you know what? Nothing crazy happened today. Nobody said anything rude to me today. No, nobody has days like that. Every day has some adversity in it. That's how life is designed. So you have to tenaciously pursue this thing. Tenaciously get better, man. Every day. I had to call my son yesterday. I said, well, it was 8:30 at night. What you doing? They had the day off of school. So that means he didn't go lifting. Now, he told me in his imagination, I want to be an NFL player. I want to be the best running back to ever come out of Ohio. Okay, that's great. It's Monday. It's 8:30 at night. What are you doing? Watching Netflix. Okay. I said, are you tired? He said, yeah, I'm a little tired. I had to work and stuff. Okay. I said, you know who doesn't care about you being tired? He said, who? I said, your goals. Your goals don't care about you being tired. Nobody ever said, hey, man, I saw you got tackled at the 2-yard line, man. I'm guessing, 3 months ago when it was off season, it was Monday, you were probably tired, so you didn't lift, right? The guy caught you. Nobody cared. You didn't make it. I said, your goals don't care about you being tired. So what are you going to do today? He said, I could probably challenge my older brother to a push-up contest. I said, okay, sounds good to me. Do something. But you can't tell me you want to play in the National Football League, which is a difficult thing to do. Now, he's as big as me and he's 15 years old. He has a shot, but you can't be sitting on your behind watching Netflix on a Monday when the kid in Ann Arbor, Michigan is posted on Instagram and he's squatting with one leg on a Monday. Yeah, you got to get him to do something. Because when the opportunity presents itself, you can't show up with a bud. Right? It's too... You get an opportunity and you show up with nothing, anybody, you can forget about it. You can forget about it, right? So that's what my dad had to do. Be tenacious. When they hired him to work at Wendy's, he was just an employee. He was just working in a Wendy's store. Dave hired him because my dad knew how to work in restaurants. He had worked at Kentucky Fried Chicken. He had worked at a place called Church's Chicken. He knew how to operate. And so Dave said, Will, why don't you come over and work for me? I got a hamburger place. I want you to work for me. So he came in as an employee. He did a good job. Dave said, you know what, Ike? I trust you. It's the 70s, right? He's an African American man. He's the only African American at the time working for the Wendy's Corporation. But Dave said, you know what? You really know what you're doing in here. I want to open up some more stores. You think you could teach the people that open up the stores how to run them? He said, sure. Opportunity presented itself. He was ready. Why? Because Dad was tenacious, man. Like, when it came to food and understanding how to manage, every day he was on it, dressed every day, shirt tucked in, hat, afro pushed down with the hat on it, every day. Opportunity presented itself, he was ready. They said, okay, so now we're going to give you a promotion. We're going to make you the Director of Franchise Operations, which just meant anytime they open a franchise anywhere in the country, you're going to go and teach the people how to do that. Anytime there's a franchise that opens, you're going to be the guy that teaches them because you're good at it. You know how to run a store, right? It didn't matter what color my dad was because he solved the problem. In fact, when they would fly on the plane, Dave would sit and he would have my dad sit in front of him so they could talk and get to know each other. He gave him a promotion before he really got to know even really who he was because he solved the problem. And one time he said, hey, man, look at that afro. Like, can I touch your hair? He's like, hey, man, you can't touch my hair now. Like, that's one thing you can't do. Like, I don't want nobody to look like you patting me on the head. It's like, well, I don't want that. Right? But he solved the problem. And being tenacious, offensive, understanding the dream was to be a business owner. So when they told him, hey, we want you to stay in this position, man, we're going to pay you a lot of money to do it. He could have taken that deal and stay there. But that wasn't what was in his imagination. He wanted to be a business owner. And so he said, instead of you paying me that money, let's take that money and allow me to become a franchise owner. Remember what we said? Ask. You got to have guts to ask. Instead of you paying me $200,000 a year, let's take that money and allow me to be a franchise owner. That's tenacious, man. And they allowed him to do that. Dave said, all right, we're going to do it. But the tenacious attitude, by the time people said he'll never be able to be successful, he'll never be able to do it, he doesn't have, degrees and all this other stuff, he won't be able to do it. By the time they were even able to print the articles that he wouldn't be able to do it, he had already opened his second store. He opened 4 stores in 28 months in Columbus, Ohio. 4, from the ground up. Secured the funding, secured the bank relationships, and opened 4. That's tenacious. Do you understand that? How tenacious that is? To open 4 stores from the ground up in 28 months. and then 3 years later sell them for a profit of $1.3 million. It was a mentality, though. You have to have guts. You have to have resilience, because it's going to be tough. You got to have imagination, because when you get in the middle, it's going to be like, this is stupid. I need to go back to the beginning. And you have to. If you're going to achieve your greatness, your full potential, if you're going to produce apples or pears or whatever's inside of you, I do not know. You're going to have to be tenacious, right? Any questions before we get ready to close out? I want to be able to field questions like, what are you here for? What do you want to learn? What do you want to know? Please, maximize the opportunity, man. What are you working on? What are you working on right now? What's the dream? I can relate to that. There was a song that said, I just want to be successful. Trey Songz did that. I just want to be successful. I don't even care what it is. There was a time I was like that. What are you good at? What are your gifts?
Well, I know how to talk to people, so I chose social work because it works with people, basically.
Good job. Very smart. So you took something that you're good at, and now you're trying to combine calling and career, right? If you can do that, you'll never work a day in your life, man. It'll feel like play every day, right? So you're good at talking to people. Do you have a heart for helping people?
Yeah.
Because you're going to need that. That's a real question, because some people work in social work and they don't even like people. I'm like, why are you doing this? You're terrible at service. You don't like people. You don't like humans. I understand you're good at talking, but you probably need to do it behind a microphone, because talking to humans is not your thing. So if you have a heart to help people, that's good. That's a real thing. Okay. What about you? What are you working on? What's your dream?
Owning something of my own.
Owning something of your own. Gotcha.
Starting my own company.
Okay.
Taking over my pop's company. Just making it bigger than what it is.
Gotcha. What kind of company does he have?
He was a phone company right now.
Awesome.
I mean, he's pretty successful right now.
Nice.
He called the city. They give him his reference.
Wow. That's a good setup. Now, do you want to go into that line of work right now? Have you given any resistance to it? I want to, start from the ground up and not. Okay, good. Because that's wisdom kicking in. I was not smart. I was thinking, I want to show everybody I can do it on my own. I know my dad's the first African American Wendy's franchise owner, but I'm going to go and start from the ground up because I would prove it. I can do it on my own. That was the dumbest. That was just stupid, man. That was just stupid. I had an easy hand up. He's like, yo, you come work for me. I'll show you how to do everything. So after you graduate, you have a management degree, you can come and manage. I was like, no, I can do it on my own. Right? Yeah, don't do that, man. It'll set you back 15 years. It took me 15 years to get up to the point that he would have taken me in a month. Right? Not smart, don't do that. And now I'm telling his story. Hey, don't do that. What about you? What you working on, man? What's the dream?
I want to be a music therapist.
Nice. That's a recession-proof job, man. You know what I mean? People get hurt through all seasons, bar none, and they have to get the help, right? You can't be like, I think I'll just wait this one out. Nope. When you get messed up, you got to go through therapy, man. And I've had just about every injury known to man, so I appreciate people like you who are physical therapists. What about you? What's the dream? Multiple? All right. Nice.
How I go about getting them depends on the first one works. That's the answer to that.
Very good. Very smart thing to say. You actually beat me to that. I'm glad you said it that way. Because if you think about a tree, the tree has a trunk to it. Many branches come from it, though. So creative people, like I'm assuming you are, right? You're very creative, have multiple ideas. You think of stuff that nobody else thought of, all that kind of stuff. The danger with us is that we can do a lot of stuff. You can't do everything, though. Like,
It's not just achieving the main goal. You know?
yeah, so you're a jack of all trades and a master of none of them. And so you're pretty good at this, 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 but people don't want pretty good. They want great right now. So great is what I pay for. So you're interesting to talk about and talk to, but I'm not paying you. Yeah, you see what I'm saying? So what you have to really do is get quiet, get a piece of paper out, get a pen out, sit quiet, and really just think, man, what do I have the grace to do right now, though? Like, what does my life situation and where I'm at right now, what can I do right now and be great at? Because I can be good at all kinds, but what can I do right now? What do I have the money access to do, the friend access to do, the connections to do right now and be great at it? And do that. Because once you get great at that, then that will support everything else, right?
Now that's just somebody degree in athletic training and football.
Be great at it. Be great at it. Put your energy into that. Get those grades right. Get football right. Practice your stuff every day. Be a weirdo. You have to be a weirdo, right? Only weirdos achieve greatness, right? That's what Steve Jobs put in his like world famous ad. Here's to the crazy ones, the square pegs in a round hole, man. Like, you, great people are weirdos because you're gonna work on something for 3 years and come out with a little something. People gonna be like, you're insane. You still want to play football? You're crazy, man. You're crazy. Yeah, you see what I mean? All right, all right. I don't want to leave you out too as my peer group here. What are you working on? Are you working on anything? You got a pursuit, a passion?
I'm an academic advisor,
Mhm.
and I do say that aligns really with a lot of my passions.
Awesome.
But I find attention is staying content, and yet also, pursuing growth or thinking through, okay, financial goals and other things I have, and how does that align with my current career? Where do I want to go? And finding the balance of contentment, wanting to, learn and absorb what you can with where you're at, but then also, okay, but when's the right time to pursue other opportunities or
It's
step into
fantastic.
leadership with that? But I do really enjoy what I do.
It's fantastic. And learning, what you're saying is learning how to be hungry and full at the same time, right? 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 That's right. That's right.
Yeah, I feel like content to some extent, enjoying where you're at in life, but also not getting too comfortable or complacent.
Right.
Because
Which
then you
is
can miss out on
awesome.
So many opportunities too. So,
Right.
Yeah, I always find myself wrestling right now with that question of, am I too content? Should I be seeking more growth opportunities than I do? Or is right now the right time to be learning, absorbing, and taking things in? But I appreciated in your story how you talked about your dad's really like mindfulness of he didn't stay content. Even though I think it sounds like he really enjoyed what he did, he showed up, but he also at some point said, no, that's not enough. I want to own something. And so it's figuring out too in your own story what's the right time for that.
Right. The couple of things. One, that's the perfect place to be. You do want to enjoy the moments, because if you never take time to enjoy the moments, you will never enjoy them. Right? You'll always be thinking forward, and then you'll get to the end of your life and be like, I never enjoyed like that time. Like, I was 40 or 50 feeling like, and that was young. Now I'm 80. You know what I mean? Like, I should have enjoyed that time, because I can't do things now that I could have done then. And oh man, like, my body was different then. I should have enjoyed that time. I kept feeling inadequate that whole time, and now look at me now versus look at me then. I didn't even enjoy that body. You know what I mean? Like that. I talk to people all the time, and it's just like, oh, I didn't even enjoy those moments that I was in. But also understanding that I gotta keep growing, because if you're not growing, you're dying, right? But for you, one thing that would be, I think, important, mentality-wise, is understanding that the impact that you have by doing what you do. And when you grow, the impact that that will have on the people that you're here to serve, it would be selfish for you to not pursue that. You see what I mean? Yeah. Like, that's why I'm here today. I could easily have been home today. Like, it would have made sense to stay home on a Tuesday. Cold, baby, my wife, and our teenagers are at home tearing up the place right now. I know it. I can feel it in my bones. But the mentality was impact, man. Like, if I can just get one person, man, to do what they were created to do in the way they were created to do it, to solve the problem they were supposed to solve and help the people they were supposed to help, I gotta go, right? So that's what drives me forward. And another thing is finding someone who's doing what you want to do, and find out someone who has shared their process for doing that, how they got there, and then following that framework. Following their framework will cut all the guesswork out for you. But you got to find somebody who has like been gracious enough to either put a course together or a book and share the process, who's doing exactly what you want to do, like whatever that is, who's doing exactly that, exactly the way you want to do it, and who resonates with you, and who has shared their process. It will cut 10 years off of the process. Like, seriously, like that will do the thing for you. Awesome. How we doing? We good? Ready? 0 minutes left. Got to wrap and put a bow on it. All right, what about the paper? Got my paper? Can we? Fantastic. I have to. I can't even leave without it because it's that important. Awesome. Awesome. I appreciate y'all. Y'all having a good time so far? Coach Raasch, go!
Yeah, I got something for you, too.
I appreciate you, man. I want you to get this thing here. Blank piece of paper. This is crucial. 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 Very important stuff. This is what I skipped you. I'm sorry. Very important. All right. So on this blank piece of paper right here, you know, this isn't just for show. This is really to culminate everything we talked about today. So on this piece of paper, I want you to just imagine, take your pointer finger and just imagine writing down every limitation that somebody else has placed on you in your life that you can remember. If they said, you're too dumb to succeed, you can't do it. You're too short, you don't have enough money, you're too whatever, your skin color is this, whatever. Every limitation that somebody else has placed on you. Putting it on this paper. Every limitation. Every limitation. You can't do it. It's never been done before. Your dad couldn't do it. Your parents this. They didn't love you. Blah, blah, blah. Every single limitation. I know Coach Roscoe, the doctor, said you can't because nobody, lives to be X, Y, Z. You can't. You can't coach multiple sports because you have this and all of that stuff. And once you got that down, I want you to write down every limitation you've placed on yourself. Every limiting belief that you've placed on yourself. Man, I can't because of. I can't because I don't have this. I can't because I have too much of this. I can't because the family I grew up in. I can't because of where I live. I can't because my bank account says, negative $25.85, whatever the case may be. I can't because of, right? Got it on your paper? Got your limitations down? Now I want you to understand something. There's only two types of people on this journey. There's two types of people. There's because of people, and there are in spite of people, okay? Because of people have everything on this list, and they say because of everything on this list, I can't succeed, man. Everything on this list is an excuse. Because of this, I'm not going to make it. Because of this, I can't be a ball player, man. Like, I'm not going to make it to the NFL. Because of this, I'm probably not going to, really be able to be successful at anything I do. I might just have to do this one little thing. Because of. And then there are in spite of people that say, in spite of every limitation I have, in spite of where I come from, in spite of what my parents did, said, acted like, had, in spite of that, I can be successful and I will be successful, in spite of everything on this list. So right now, I want you to ball this list up. Ball it up. Ball it up, ball it up, ball it up, ball it up. Hold it in your hand. You jump the gun on me. There's always one that jumps the gun. It's always one. Usually they throw it at me, though. Like, what are you doing? Wait. Ball it up. I want you to stand on your feet. Because when I count to 3, we're going to do something symbolically here, right? I want to wake up every cell in your body to understand that from this day forward, every limitation that is on here has been crushed. Every limiting belief has been crushed. It's not going to hold us back, not from this day forward. I want to ignite every cell in your body to understand that and recognize that. So when I count to 3, we're going to rear back this thing in our best Usain Bolt pose and get ready to toss it, right? And when I count to 3, I want you to toss this paper as far and as hard as you can at him. No. As far and as hard as you can, preferably this way so nobody gets hit in the face. I don't know if HR, we got that kind of liability insurance or not. But throw it this way, right? I don't know if we're covered on Geico for that. But throw it this way, right? As hard as you can. And for 10 seconds, right? This is going to seem crazy, but it's actually part of setting your neurons in state management. For 10 seconds, I want y'all to just make as much noise as you can, as though you've already achieved your craziest dream. You got 5 businesses. You're on the cover of Forbes. Everybody's trying to figure out how you're so rich and wealthy under 30. Whip your hair back and forth. I see you up there. I want you to go crazy for only 10 seconds of the day. It's 24 hours in this day, man. You can give me 10 seconds of straight up crazy fury, fire. I want it loud. I want it obnoxious. I want it just belligerent. I want people down the hall poking their head and going, what am I missing? I want part of this, right? So let me just get a practice for what that sounds like. Make some noise real quick. Okay. Oh yeah. Okay. Y'all ready? Usually I got to pump people up. But y'all ready for it. All right. Y'all ready on the count of 3? I want y'all to throw these limitations as hard as you can and then make some noise for 10 seconds. 1, y'all get ready. 2, I can see it in your eyes, dog. 3, throw it. Make some noise. Yeah! Ah! It's crazy. Give me some. Ah! Repeat after me. No grit. No greatness. No grit. No greatness. No grit. No greatness. Thank y'all for having me, man. I appreciate it. On a Tuesday night, give yourselves a hand clap because we're taking it to the next level, man. I appreciate y'all so much. Prayerfully, we can come back and do some more workshops, man, and hash out the process. The process.